Hello, I'm Craig Brailsford, and welcome to another episode of Small Stocks, Big Money. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Now, today's show features interviews with the executives of two public companies. First up is BioVie. BioVie represents a unique late clinical stage investment opportunity at the convergence of neurodegeneration, longevity science, and liver disease. The company's lead asset, bezisterim, or NE3107, is a first-in-class, orally bioavailable small molecule that addresses two fundamental drivers of aging and neurodegeneration: TNF-alpha-mediated inflammation and insulin resistance. Across clinical studies, bezisterim has generated encouraging signals of improved cognition in Alzheimer's, motor function in Parkinson's, and reduced biological aging as measured by DNA methylation clocks, underscoring its potential as a platform therapy for multiple large and underserved patient populations. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Up next is First Phosphate. First Phosphate represents a rare opportunity to invest early in a critical but underappreciated bottleneck in the global energy transition, as lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, batteries have become the dominant chemistry for energy storage, data centers, grid infrastructure, and electric mobility. Secure access to high-purity phosphate has emerged as a limiting factor in the deployment of these systems. While lithium supply has historically captured investor attention, phosphate, the largest material component of LFP batteries by mass, is increasingly recognized as a strategic constraint. First Phosphate is uniquely positioned to address this challenge through its exclusive focus on igneous phosphate, a scarce, high-purity feedstock capable of efficient conversion into purified phosphoric acid, or PPA, and that is the essential input for LFP cathode active material. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Before we move forward, let's take a look at RedChat, a revolutionary AI chatbot for small-cap stock analysis.
A new era of small cap research has arrived with RedChip's RedChat, the fastest, most accurate AI assistant for small caps. The days of spending hours sifting through press releases, 10Ks, 10Qs, 8Ks, 13Fs, 13Gs, and other filings is over. Now, get answers in seconds on 4,000 small cap stocks in one portal. Simple, fast, accurate, detailed answers. Meet small caps with RedChat. The next generation of ETF investing is here. Join RedChip's exclusive virtual ETF conference on August 19th from 9:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Hear directly from thought leaders and CEOs behind some of today's most innovative exchange-traded funds as they discuss emerging investment strategies, market trends, and opportunities shaping the future of ETF investing. August 19th, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Register now at redchip.com.
Now, let's move on to our quote of the week. It comes from the book, Small Stocks, Big Money. If you want to invest in the microcap space, buy companies, not stocks. If you buy stocks, the daily fluctuations and lack of liquidity will drive you crazy. This quote comes from Byron Roth of Roth Capital, and it is featured in Chapter 7 of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon today for just $21. Now, let's get started on our first interview today with BioVie. Hello there. Today we have Kong Do, the president and CEO of BioVie, trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol BIVI. Kong, thanks for being with us.
Craig, thank you so much for having me back. It's a pleasure to be here.
You've now reported top-line data from your phase 2 Parkinson's study. For investors who may not have read every detail of the release, what would you say are the biggest takeaway from the trial?
From the trial, we found that patients treated with our drug candidate bezisterim demonstrated statistically significant improvements compared to placebo on both motor and non-motor symptoms, as assessed by a variety of endpoints, including the Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale, parts 1, 2, and 3, as well as a composite endpoint comprising 15 clinically relevant measures. We also found that 25% of bezisterim treated patients meaningfully improved compared to only 4% of placebo patients. On the other hand, only 14% of bezisterim treated patients meaningfully worsened compared to 46% of placebo patients. We also looked at biomarkers that are indicators of neurodegenerations in this trial, and we found that patients treated with bezisterim experienced a slower increase of these neurodegenerative biomarkers compared to those treated with placebo. I believe taken holistically, these findings are really significant and important and could potentially change the way the Parkinson's treatment will be done in the future.
One of the themes that investors have heard from BioVie is the connection between inflammation, insulin resistance, and neurodegeneration, Kong. How did the clinical results reinforce that scientific hypothesis?
I believe that the trial results did show that bezisterim infected inflammation. We looked at dozens and dozens of biomarkers of inflammation, and we saw that patients treated with bezisterim consistently experienced an advantage compared to those on placebo. We also conducted a detailed study of 380 different proteins in the body and found that roughly 75% of those proteins shifted in a direction that has been shown to suggest slowing of disease progression. So big deals.
Now that the Parkinson's data are public, Kong, what are the next key milestones? Are discussions with regulators, potential partners, or future trial planning, any of that already underway?
Well, we have a lot on our plates right now. First of all, we still have a long COVID trial underway that is coming to an end. So we need to complete that trial and hopefully report top line data after Labor Day. On the Parkinson's front, we need to plan for an end of phase 2 meeting with the FDA. We also need to start planning the phase 3 potentially pivotal registrational trial for Parkinson's. And we have a ton of data, frankly, that we're just now only beginning to analyze, right? We have just touched the surface of what we've seen so far. So our challenge is to continue analyzing the data and preparing presentations for conferences and submitting for publications to scientific journals. And of course, there will be the opportunity to reactivate potential partnering conversations with various companies that we've talked to in the past.
Parkinson's, it affects millions of people worldwide, yet treatment options remain limited. If bezisterim ultimately succeeds in later stage development, how large could the commercial opportunity become?
We believe that the trial gives us optimism that bezisterim could eventually become the first therapy to address both motor and non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's. It could be the first therapy to slow the progression of the disease, and it could become the first new approach to treating Parkinson's since levodopa was introduced over 5 decades ago. If we can demonstrate all of this, I believe this would represent a dramatic change in the way the Parkinson's patients are treated. And this could equate to a $3 to $5 billion annual sales opportunity in the US alone.
Kong, one aspect that makes BioVie unique is that you're pursuing multiple indications with the same underlying mechanism. Why do you believe targeting chronic inflammation could have broad therapeutic applications beyond Parkinson's?
We believe that inflammation is the starting point for many things to go wrong in the body, and TNF alpha is considered to be the master regulator of inflammation. And since bezisterim is believed to modulate the production of TNF alpha and therefore modulating and reversing insulin resistance, we believe its potential therapeutic impact could be quite far ranging. And we're looking forward to exploring all those different indications in future years.
Looking ahead, Kong, another catalyst investors are watching is your long COVID program. Can you tell us what makes long COVID an attractive indication for bezisterim and what investors should be watching for later this year?
There are 17 to 18 million adults in the US who suffer from long COVID symptoms of brain fog, fatigue, and post exertional malaise. 3 million have it so badly that they've had to quit or change their jobs simply because they can no longer keep up with the physical demands of the job. And over the past few years, researchers have tied those long COVID symptoms to inflammation that works through exactly the same mechanism that bezisterim affects. So, as a result of that, we received a $13 million grant that we used to enroll a trial with 200 patients, right, that we hope will show bezisterim's potential impact from long COVID. That trial is fully enrolled at this point, and the last patient is expected to come into Yale this week for his or her last visit. And if that keeps on track, that would allow us to target reporting of the top line data readout after Labor Day.
And finally, Kong, please give us the essential value proposition. Why should investors take an interest in BioVie right now?
We are a tiny, small biotech company with an unusually robust pipeline. We just reported on our Parkinson's clinical trial. This result gives us optimism that bezisterim could eventually provide a completely new therapeutic approach for Parkinson's that could address both motor and non-motor symptoms and could potentially slow the progression of the disease. We have a long COVID trial that will hopefully read out within 30 days or so. And I do not believe our share price reflect the full value of this. And I say that not because I'm the CEO of the company. I'm one of the largest shareholders of the company. So the value proposition is really track what we do. We have near-term catalysts, and I believe those catalysts will lead to a share price appreciation for our shareholders.
Kong, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Craig, for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here, and especially now to report the result of our Parkinson's trial.
To get more information on BioVie, visit biviinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like BioVie. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. And also go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies. And you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy on Amazon today for just $21. Before we move forward, let's take a look at RedChat, a revolutionary AI chatbot for small cap stock analysis.
A new era of small cap research has arrived with RedChip's RedChat, the fastest, most accurate AI assistant for small caps. The days of spending hours sifting through press releases, 10Ks, 10Qs, 8Ks, 13Fs, 13Gs, and other filings is over. Now, get answers in seconds on 4,000 small cap stocks in one portal. Simple, fast, accurate, detailed answers. Meet small caps with RedChat.
Now, let's move on to our next interview today with First Phosphate. Hello, today we have John Passalacqua, CEO and Director of First Phosphate, trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker PHOS. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Craig.
John, you have just secured $4.8 million for road infrastructure and power lines to the mine. That is on top of $16.7 million received in March for mine concentrator development. That all comes to $21.5 million in non-repayable government funding within 6 months. Why is Ottawa prioritizing you? What does it signal to investors about the strategic importance of Bégin-La Marche compared to other critical mineral projects?
Yeah, so Beijing-Lamarche, as you know, is high purity igneous phosphate for the lithium iron phosphate LFP battery industry. And just last month, we were signaled by the G7 at the Resilience and Production Alliance as one of the major supply chains that's required in the Western world. So First Phosphate is strongly supported at the G7 level, and that filters down to the nation state level, where Canada, Ottawa, recognizes the extreme importance of high purity igneous phosphate, one of the only sources in the Western world.
Now, how does having the government of Canada fund this pre-production infrastructure, power transmission, and roads, how does that help de-risk First Phosphate's path to production compared to junior miners that must raise private capital for every stage?
Well, it's important to note, Craig, that the company, as per our last financials, has over $30 million in treasury. So we've already done the very heavy lifting on our end. We've also advanced the project quite significantly over the last number of years. The project is also a significant deposit. We recently upgraded it mostly up to indicated, about 400% increase in the indicated resources. And with the contribution from the Government of Canada plus the funding that we have in Treasury, we reach over $50 million. That's $50 million, which allows us to completely de-risk the project to final investment decision. It gets us past feasibility study that's upcoming, permitting, and final investment decision. So you're looking at a project that's really got the runway to be able to get to that final investment decision, where the CapEx is then committed to building out the mine. And we already have significant players at the table because of our relationships at the G7 to be able to build out the CapEx for the mine.
High purity igneous phosphate is uniquely built for LFP batteries in a focused market compared to traditional phosphate miners. What does LFP demand look like today, John? And what does the market forecast through 2030 and beyond as robotics, electric vehicles, and battery energy storage systems begin to scale?
Yes, the market right now is getting pretty tight. And when you start projecting out to about 2030 and 2035, it looks incredibly explosive. Right now, LFP is almost 80% of all the batteries that are being produced for a number of sectors that go from robotics, energy storage, out to mobility applications, drones, small mobility, etc. And in order to continue to supply that market up until 2030, 2035, we are looking at a 5 to 10x increase over that period in the amount of purified phosphoric acid required and LFP cathode active material required, and especially so outside of Asia into North America and Europe.
The government's infrastructure funding explicitly targets gaps that limit production and expansion in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region. How might these new roads and powers create a competitive moat for First Phosphate?
Yeah, so we've already established that the company has got the liquidity to be able to get to final investment decision. We've already established that the resources there, it's continuous, it is mineable. So in most of these projects, then the next step is, can we get power out to it and can we get road infrastructure out to it? And these two contributions are exactly to be able to facilitate that, to be able to make the investments that's required to determining how to build the road and how to build the electricity to the project. One thing that I will note, we are about 2 kilometers from major provincial highway, which is like state highway. So basically, it's not about whether you can build a road, it's about how to build the road that is the most convenient and the most environmentally less challenging. And then also for the electrical infrastructure, we are very close to power lines. So it's about determining in which direction those power lines will go.
And John, how does your vertically integrated mine-to-market strategy for LFP materials position you within the North American LFP ecosystem?
Yeah, so as we established, we've got the embryo of being able to create the mine. So that's the major upstream positioning, this high purity igneous phosphate that then translates into phosphoric acid and then into LFP cathode active material. And it's some of the purest phosphate that's found on planet Earth, and we're lucky to have it here in a special corner of North America. So basically, it allows us to integrate all the way from mine with partners right through to production of LFP cathode active material that then goes into the battery cells and then goes into the systems that run on LFP battery, So it really allows us to fully onshore the LFP battery supply chain here in North America from cradle all the way to product.
And finally, John, what is the essential takeaway from today's announcement, and why should investors really be taking an interest in First Phosphate right now?
I think the takeaway is, and we've seen it over the last 3-4 months with First Phosphate, we have major interest from the Quebec government, who has fast-tracked the project. We have major interest from the federal government of Canada, who has put the contributions behind us. And we have major interest from the United States through the Exim Bank, and major interest in Europe and the G7 through the Danish Import-Export Credit Agency, 3 agencies of the Italian government, and also the Belgian government. So we have, a really strong group of nation states that want to see this project forward, that realize that it's very important to onshore this lithium iron phosphate LFP battery supply chain in the West. So we have the right project, and it is fully supported to come to life as soon as possible.
John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Craig. Always a great pleasure.
To get more information on First Phosphate, visit frspfinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like First Phosphate. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can order Small Stocks, Big Money. This is a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon for $21. Now, let's recap the companies featured today. First, you met BioVie, BIVI, on the NASDAQ. BioVie represents a unique late clinical stage investment opportunity at the convergence of neurodegeneration, longevity science, and liver disease. The company's lead asset, bezisterim, or NE3107, is a first-in-class, orally bioavailable small molecule that addresses 2 fundamental drivers of aging and neurodegeneration: TNF-alpha-mediated inflammation and insulin resistance. Across clinical studies, bezisterim has generated encouraging signals of improved cognition in Alzheimer's, motor function in Parkinson's, and reduced biological aging as measured by DNA methylation clocks, underscoring its potential as a platform therapy for multiple large and underserved patient populations. Learn more at biviinfo.com. Then you met First Phosphate, PHOS, on the NASDAQ. First Phosphate represents a rare opportunity to invest early in a critical but underappreciated bottleneck in the global energy transition. As lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, batteries have become the dominant chemistry for energy storage, data centers, grid infrastructure, and electric mobility, secure access to high-purity phosphate has emerged as a limiting factor in the deployment of these systems. While lithium supply has historically captured investor attention, phosphate, the largest material component of LFP batteries by mass, is increasingly recognized as a strategic constraint. First Phosphate is uniquely positioned to address this challenge through its exclusive focus on igneous phosphate, a scarce, high-purity feedstock capable of efficient conversion into purified phosphoric acid, the essential input for LFP cathode active material. Learn more at frspfinfo.com. Don't forget to check out our stocks page. It is the biggest small-cap stock portal in the industry. It has every company listed on the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange with market caps of $2 billion and less. And it's categorized by industry. Watch this show again and explore hundreds of small-cap stock videos on RedChip's YouTube channel, and be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter and learn about a lot of small-cap companies. Also, go to our website and sign up on our events page for the webinar series. We have webinars every week, several a week, in which we feature small public companies, mostly our client companies, and you'll hear straight from the CEO, and you'll be able to ask questions after that. Again, if you have any questions about any of our public companies featured on today's show, call us at 1-800-REDCHIP or email us at info@redchip.com. In closing, remember, while small caps can provide significant gains, you must be prepared for the downside. Small cap stocks are among the most volatile of asset classes. Some of the companies featured on this show are RedChip client companies, and we may own stock in these companies. So please, always read our disclosures at redchip.com. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week with some new, exciting, emerging growth companies.